Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we're going to cover chapter 21 on cost volume profit analysis, or the short form is CVP. So for this first video, this is the first part of this chapter where we are going to cover only the introduction of CVP, okay? And then the rest of the chapters will be covered in the next videos. Okay, the learning objectives, okay, for this chapter, okay, the first one is to understand how costs behave, okay, in relation to quantity and the sales amount. And then we're going to look at the differences between these two methods. Okay, the methods are absorption costing and variable costing. And then how we're going to prepare statement of profit and loss by using these two different methods. And then lastly, we're going to look at the break-even analysis. Okay, this CVP chapters is actually to plan business future activities by calculating how many units to be sold, how much to be produced, and then how changes in cost and sales volume affect our profit. Okay. Next, we're going to look at how costs behave. Okay, there are three types of costs that we're going to cover here. So the first one is the fixed cost. Then the next one will be the variable costs, and then the mixed costs. So first, we're going to look at the fixed costs. So what is the meaning of the fixed costs? Fixed costs remain unchanged in total. So careful whether you are talking about the fixed cost in total or the fixed cost per unit, because the explanation will be different. So the fixed costs remain unchanged in total when the quantity changes. Okay? The fixed costs still incur even though no units is produced. Okay? And then when you are talking about the fixed cost per unit, it will change in opposite direction to the change in quantities. I'm going to explain later, okay? I'm going to explain more about this fixed cost later. Now, take into account the examples of the fixed cost. So the examples could be your factory. You do not have a building, okay, to be your factory. So you rent a building from somebody else. So you need to pay monthly rental for your factory. So the factory rental fees will be one example, and also the other example is advertising costs. Okay, now explanation on the fixed costs. Okay, when we are talking about the total fixed costs just now, okay, just now I mentioned that you need to be careful whether you're talking about the total fixed cost or you're talking about the fixed cost per unit. So when we are talking about the total fixed costs, okay, so total fixed costs remain unchanged when quantity changes. For example, let's say our rental fees just now 1,000 ringgit per month. So if you produce one unit, you need to pay 1,000 ringgit. But if you produce 1,000 units, you still need to pay 1,000. And then if your quantity is 0, still the amount of rental fees will be 1,000 per month. So it's remain unchanged when there are changes in quantity. Okay, next one we move on to fixed cost per unit. Fixed cost per unit will change in negative direction as the quantity, meaning here fixed cost per unit will reduce when quantity increases and vice versa. Okay, for example, if you produce one unit, okay, the fixed cost, we take the rental fees just now. So fixed cost per unit, 1,000 ringgit divided by one unit. So it's equal to 1,000 ringgit per unit. But let's say you produce 1,000 units, okay. So fixed cost per unit is equal to 1,000 ringgit divided by 1,000 units. So you can say that it is 1 ringgit per unit only. So you can see that when quantity increases from 1 unit to 1,000 unit, you can see fixed cost per unit decreases and vice versa. Okay, so that is the explanation on the fixed cost. Okay, we move on to the second type of cost, which is the variable cost. Okay, variable costs change in total. When talking about the total variable cost, so change in total when quantity changes. So it will increase when sales volume increases and vice versa. So it will change with the same direction. Okay, positive direction with the change in quantities. Per unit cost, variable cost per unit will remain the same at every level of production. Okay. So example of variable cost will be labor wages, okay, the salaries that you pay for your employees, and also the direct materials that you use in the production of your product. Okay, so now we go to the explanation on the variable cost first. So this is the explanation of variable cost. Okay, careful whether you're talking about the variable cost per unit or you're talking about the total variable cost. Okay, so when you're talking about the variable cost per unit, it remains the same when quantity changes. Okay, example, to produce 1 loaf of bread, you need 500 gram of flour, for example. Okay, let's say the cost is 2 ringgit and 5 eggs. Let's say the cost is also 2 ringgit. So variable cost per loaf is 4 ringgit. But if you produce more variable cost to be added, but still per unit variable cost is 4 ringgit to produce 1 loaf of bread. Okay. How about total variable cost? Total variable cost will increase when quantity increases and vice versa. For example, to produce 1 unit of loaf, 1 loaf of bread, total variable cost is 4 ringgit. Okay. Total variable cost is 4 ringgit to produce 1 loaf of bread. But if you produce 1,000 loaves of bread, total variable cost is equal to 1,000 quantities multiply with 4 ringgit. So which is 4,000 ringgit in total. So you can see total variable cost increased from 4 ringgit to 4,000 ringgit when quantity also increased from 1 unit to 1,000 unit. Okay, so that is variable cost. Okay, we go back to the third type of cost, okay, which is mixed cost. Okay, mixed cost, meaning it is mixed, okay, between fixed and variable cost component. Okay, we take for example salesman salary. So salesman salary, okay, there are 2 types actually, okay, in this salary. One is the fixed salary. So the fixed or the base salary that salesman will get, for example, let's say 1,000 ringgit per month. So they will get this 1,000 ringgit per month even though they sell nothing. Or let's say they sell a few units, okay, of cars, okay, they still get 1,000 unit, the basic salary. But if they don't sell anything during that month, their commission will be 0. But if they sell some units, okay, of cars, for example, for that month, their commission will increase. So the commission is the variable cost component. The basic salary of the salesman just now is the fixed component. So that is the meaning of mixed cost. Okay, so that's it for this first part of this chapter. I'll see you again in the next video. Assalamualaikum.